What if I told you that the greatest battle you will ever fight isn't outside, but inside your own head? Every success, every failure, every choice in your life begins with a single thought. Today, I want to show you how mastering your mind can unlock a power no circumstance, no challenge, and no person can ever take from you. The greatest war that every human will ever fight is not fought on battlefields with guns and armor, but within the invisible territory of the mind. Every day, we wake up and step into a silent war zone where our thoughts become soldiers, our beliefs the generals, and our decisions the outcome of that inner conflict. The mind is where everything begins. Before a word is spoken, before an action is taken, there is first a thought that gives it life. If that thought is right, your actions will carry power and purpose. If that thought is wrong, your actions will carry destruction and defeat. Every failure, every success, every breakthrough, and every downfall first existed as a thought in someone's mind. The battlefield of the mind is the source of every external result we see in the physical world. When a person loses hope, it does not begin with circumstances. It begins with surrendering their thoughts to negativity. When a person achieves greatness, it does not start with talent or opportunity. It starts with conquering doubt and believing that they can. The mind determines how you see life. Two people can experience the same situation. One sees opportunity, the other sees disaster. The difference is not in what happened, but in how the mind interpreted it. That is why the mind is the true battlefield, because it decides what reality will mean to you. Every day, thoughts of fear, anxiety, and defeat try to invade your mind. They whisper that you are not enough, that you cannot overcome, that you are too late or too weak. These thoughts are the enemy's first strike, and if you do not recognize them, they will establish a stronghold in your thinking. Once a thought takes root, it begins to control emotions, decisions, and habits. That is why the most dangerous attacks in life are not physical but mental. The body follows wherever the mind leads. A defeated mind produces a defeated life, while a victorious mind creates a life of strength and progress. The battle for your mind is constant and relentless. You cannot win it once and relax. You must fight daily. The weapons you use are focus, awareness, and truth. Focus keeps your attention on what matters. Awareness exposes the lies that creep into your thinking, and truth renews your perspective when fear tries to take over. If you allow your mind to drift without control, it will become a playground for confusion. But when you take command of your thoughts, you become the master of your internal world. The battlefield of the mind decides who you become. Every dream, every goal, every act of courage is first a victory won inside yourself. The person who wins within can never be truly defeated without. That is why this battlefield is the most important one you will ever face, because whoever controls the mind controls the man. Your mind is the architect of your reality. Everything you experience in life, your emotions, your relationships, your confidence, and your success begins as a pattern of thought that takes shape inside your mind. The world you see on the outside is a reflection of what you have accepted on the inside. If your thoughts are filled with doubt, fear, and limitation, life will mirror those same barriers back to you. But if your thoughts are filled with faith, vision, and determination, you will see doors open, opportunities appear, and strength rise from within. The mind does not simply react to life, it creates it. Every dream you chase and every obstacle you overcome begins with what you choose to believe about yourself. You become what you continually think about. Thoughts have creative power. They attract experiences that match their frequency. A person who constantly focuses on lack will find that lack becomes their companion. A person who continually nurtures gratitude and purpose will find that abundance follows them. The mind shapes the reality you live in because it controls your perspective, and perspective controls your response. You can only rise to the level of your thinking. When your thoughts expand, your world expands with them. The mind is a lens through which you interpret everything that happens to you. Change the lens, and the picture of your life changes. So many people try to change their circumstances without first changing their mindset. They move to new places, meet new people, start new projects, but their old thinking follows them everywhere. And because the mind creates patterns that repeat themselves, they end up reproducing the same problems in new environments. Real change does not happen when something shifts outside. It happens when something awakens inside. The moment your thinking changes, your possibilities change. The moment you begin to see yourself as capable, worthy, and destined for more, life begins to respond to that new identity. Your thoughts are like architect's blueprints. Every belief you hold becomes a design for your behavior, your attitude, and your destiny. If your blueprint is small, you will build a small life. If your blueprint is strong and visionary, you will build something that lasts. The tragedy is that most people allow others to draw their blueprints for them, parents, teachers, media, or society. But the power to design your life has always been in your own mind. You decide what to think, and therefore you decide what to create. You cannot expect peace while entertaining chaos in your thoughts. You cannot expect confidence while feeding insecurity. You cannot expect growth while dwelling on past failures. The mind must be trained like a muscle. It must be disciplined and renewed daily. Once you learn to direct your thoughts toward what you want instead of what you fear, you become a creator instead of a reactor. The mind shapes your reality, and when you master it, your entire life aligns with the vision you hold within. The mind is the gate through which everything enters your life, and you are the guard standing watch over that gate. Every thought, every idea, every influence that comes your way seeks permission to enter, and once it gets in, it begins to shape your emotions, actions, and ultimately your destiny. Most people lose control of their lives because they have allowed anything and everything to walk freely into their minds. They let fear come in without question. They entertain doubt like an old friend, and they give worry a permanent seat at the table. But if you are going to build a life of clarity, peace, and power, you must learn to guard your mind with the same seriousness that a soldier guards a fortress. The mind is too precious to be left unprotected. You cannot stop thoughts from coming, but you can choose which ones to welcome and which ones to reject. Thoughts are like visitors. They knock at the door of your consciousness, asking for attention. Some of them carry truth, wisdom, and encouragement. Others carry poison, deception, and fear. If you open the door to every thought that comes your way, soon your mental space becomes overcrowded and chaotic. Guarding your mind means you become selective about what you allow to stay. It means recognizing that not every voice deserves your ear, and not every image deserves your focus. Your peace is too valuable to be traded for the noise of negativity. When you guard your mind, you take control of what feeds your inner world. You become intentional about what you watch, listen to, and speak. You understand that what enters repeatedly through your senses will take root in your thoughts. If you feed on stories of failure, you will start believing success is impossible. If you surround yourself with complaints, you will start living in frustration. But if you fill your mind with truth, inspiration, and purpose, your inner world will begin to produce courage and vision. The mind responds to what it is exposed to most often, and guarding it means choosing exposure that builds rather than breaks. Every strong person is mentally disciplined. They have trained themselves to reject thoughts that weaken them. They do not meditate on past pain, nor do they allow future fears to dominate their present. They stand guard, filtering every idea through a standard of truth and purpose. When a thought of doubt tries to enter, they confront it with faith. When negativity tries to invade, they replace it with gratitude. This is not denial. It is discipline. It is the practice of mental sovereignty, knowing that your mind belongs to you, not to fear, not to the past, not to external voices. Guarding your mind is not about isolation. It is about direction. It is about taking charge of what influences your thinking so that your thoughts remain aligned with who you are becoming. The moment you begin to guard your mind, confusion begins to fade, peace begins to rise, and your life starts reflecting the power of a mind under control. The mind functions like fertile soil that never stops producing. It does not care what kind of seed is planted. It will grow whatever you sow. If you plant thoughts of fear, you will harvest anxiety. If you plant doubt, you will reap hesitation. If you plant bitterness, you will live surrounded by resentment. But if you plant faith, confidence, and vision, your life will produce strength, peace, and direction. The soil of the mind does not discriminate. It simply multiplies what it is given. This is why you must be intentional about the kind of thoughts you allow to take root in your inner world. You cannot plant weeds and expect roses to grow. The quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. Every thought is a seed, small in the beginning but powerful in its potential. A single idea can build an empire or destroy a nation. A single belief can create a lifetime of courage or a lifetime of fear. Thoughts start quietly, but once they settle into the mind, they begin to grow, forming patterns, habits, and behaviors that shape who you become. This means that your future is not decided by fate or luck. It is decided by what you consistently plant in your mind today. The person who fills their mind with purpose and hope is building a future of strength, while the one who allows negativity and self-pity to dominate is preparing a harvest of struggle and regret. Every day you are sowing something. The conversations you entertain, the media you consume, the people you surround yourself with, all of them are seeds being planted in the soil of your mind. You cannot feed your thoughts with darkness and expect to walk in light. You cannot nurture anger and expect peace to grow. The harvest always matches the seed. That is why it is essential to take responsibility for what you allow to influence your thinking. If you do not intentionally plant good seeds, weeds will grow by default. The world is full of negative voices that constantly throw seeds of fear and failure your way. Only by being conscious and disciplined can you make sure that your mental garden produces what you desire. Over time, the seeds you plant begin to form your mindset, and your mindset becomes your lifestyle. Someone who continually plants hope begins to see opportunities where others see obstacles. Someone who plants discipline develops consistency even when life becomes difficult. The principle never fails. What you sow in your thoughts, you will reap in your character. The most successful and fulfilled people are those who have learned to be master gardeners of the mind. They do not wait for someone else to bring them happiness or peace. They cultivate it within themselves through what they think about daily. So, be watchful over the garden of your mind. Pull out weeds of negativity as soon as they appear. Water the soil with gratitude and focus, and plant seeds of purpose, vision, and self-belief. Over time, the harvest will reflect the seeds you have chosen to nurture, and your life will become the fruit of your own intentional thoughts. Your emotions are servants of your thoughts. They do not appear out of nowhere. They are born from the ideas, beliefs, and perceptions you hold in your mind. Every feeling that rises within you, whether peace or panic, joy or anger, first begins as a thought that has taken root. If you think thoughts of rejection, your emotions will produce insecurity. If you dwell on thoughts of gratitude, your emotions will produce peace. The mind is the thermostat, and the emotions are the temperature it sets. You cannot change the temperature of your life without adjusting the thermostat of your thinking. The way you feel is simply the echo of what you have been allowing yourself to think about most often. Many people believe they are victims of their emotions, as if feelings control them without permission. But the truth is that emotions only respond to what the mind feeds them. If your thoughts are chaotic, your emotions will reflect that confusion. If your thoughts are calm and focused, your emotions will align with that clarity. You can always trace the root of emotional turmoil back to an unguarded or negative thought. This is why learning to master your mind is the foundation of mastering your emotions. Emotional control is not about suppressing how you feel. It is about understanding where those feelings come from and changing them at the source. When your thoughts are healthy and balanced, your emotions become stable. You begin to respond to life instead of reacting to it. Fear loses its grip because your mind no longer gives it permission to grow. Anger fades because your thoughts have shifted toward understanding and patience. Worry dissolves because your thoughts now focus on solutions instead of problems. You stop being a slave to mood swings because you have learned that emotions are signals, not masters. They reveal what your mind is focusing on, and once you change the focus, the feeling follows. This is why a person with a disciplined mind remains composed in situations that cause others to panic. It is not that they don't feel fear or doubt. It is that they have trained their minds to process those emotions through truth and perspective. They have learned that every emotion must pass through the filter of thought before it can take hold. When you think clearly, you feel clearly. When you think with faith, you feel courage. When you think with hope, you feel peace. Your emotions obey the command of your thoughts. Controlling your emotions begins by feeding your mind with the right material. Fill your thoughts with uplifting words, empowering ideas, and positive possibilities. When your mental diet changes, your emotional state changes with it. The more disciplined your thoughts become, the more authority you gain over how you feel. You no longer ride the waves of emotional highs and lows. You begin to navigate them with wisdom and strength. The key to emotional mastery lies not in chasing peace, but in thinking peace, for the mind always leads and the emotions follow. Every decision you make in life is a reflection of your dominant thoughts. The mind is the command center that governs your choices, and those choices determine the direction of your destiny. Before any major decision is made whether to act, to speak, or to stay silent, there is a thought process guiding it. You can look at your life today and trace every major event back to a series of decisions that began as simple thoughts in your mind. The mind gives birth to choices, and choices give birth to outcomes. When your mind is cluttered, your decisions become uncertain. When your thoughts are clear and grounded, your choices carry wisdom and purpose. Every great success story and every painful failure started with a decision that was first shaped in the arena of thought. This is why the state of your mind is so critical. A distracted mind leads to impulsive choices, while a focused mind leads to deliberate, meaningful action. People who fail to master their thoughts often live in a cycle of regret because they make decisions based on emotion, pressure, or fear instead of clarity. But when you discipline your thinking, your choices begin to reflect vision rather than reaction. A disciplined mind allows you to pause, to reflect, and to act with understanding rather than haste. It gives you the ability to weigh consequences before taking action and to see beyond the present moment into the long-term impact of what you decide. Every choice plants a seed for the future, and every seed produces a harvest. A single decision can open a door to blessing or lead down a path of struggle. The difference lies in the quality of your thinking at the time you make it. When your mind is filled with fear, your choices are defensive and small. When your mind is filled with faith and wisdom, your choices are bold and visionary. The direction of your life is determined not by chance, but by the cumulative effect of your daily decisions, and those decisions flow directly from your inner thoughts. The power to shape your destiny lies in the ability to control your mind long enough to make right choices, even when your emotions or environment pressure you otherwise. A clear mind sees options that others miss. It recognizes timing, opportunity, and purpose. It does not allow temporary feelings to dictate permanent decisions. This kind of discipline separates those who drift through life from those who lead it with intention. Every time you take charge of your thinking before you choose, you strengthen the link between your thoughts and your destiny. Your life today is the sum of the thoughts you allowed and the choices you made yesterday. Your future will be the product of the thoughts you cultivate and the decisions you make today. When you bring your thoughts into alignment with truth, discipline, and purpose, your decisions begin to reflect wisdom, and your destiny begins to align with the life you were created to live. You can never rise higher than the level of your thinking. Your thoughts are the ceiling that defines how far you can go and what you can achieve. Every limitation you experience externally began as a boundary accepted internally. The world outside of you will always mirror what exists within you. A person who believes they are small will never act with the confidence of someone who knows they are capable. The moment you begin to think differently about yourself and your purpose, everything in your life starts to shift. The greatest transformations do not begin with changing circumstances, but with changing perspectives. If your thinking remains limited, even the best opportunities will look impossible. But when your mind expands with new understanding, even the greatest challenges will look conquerable. The difference between people who live ordinary lives and those who live extraordinary ones is not talent, background, or luck. It is mindset. The person who thinks small will find small opportunities because their perception filters out anything that seems beyond reach. The person who thinks with vision and faith begins to see possibilities where others see walls. Your life moves in the direction of your dominant thoughts, and that is why your thinking must always grow beyond your present conditions. You cannot live a life of greatness while entertaining thoughts of limitation, failure, or fear. Every new level of life requires a new level of thinking. The renewal of the mind is not a one-time event. It is a continuous process. Every day you are challenged by voices, both internal and external, that try to keep your thinking confined to the familiar. Those voices remind you of your past mistakes, your shortcomings, or the opinions of others. But if you allow those voices to define you, you will never rise beyond them. Growth begins the moment you challenge those thoughts and replace them with truth. When you believe that you are capable of more, your decisions, actions, and habits start to reflect that belief. The elevation of your life always begins with the elevation of your mindset. A renewed mind is not just positive thinking, it is disciplined thinking. It is the ability to see beyond what is visible and to focus on what is possible. It means refusing to let past failures set the boundaries of your future. A renewed mind is constantly learning, stretching, and reaching for higher levels of understanding. It doesn't settle for mediocrity because it knows that the potential for greatness has no limit. Every invention, every breakthrough, every movement that changed history began with someone who refused to think small. They expanded their thoughts until the world had to expand with them. If you want your life to grow, your thinking must grow first. You cannot pour a big dream into a small mindset and expect it to flourish. The mind must be stretched, challenged, and renewed until it can carry the weight of the vision you hold. As your thoughts expand, your courage grows, your actions evolve, and your world begins to align with the greatness that has always been waiting inside you. True transformation in life does not begin with changing what is around you, but with changing what is within you. Many people spend their lives trying to rearrange the conditions of their environment, believing that happiness, peace, and success come from external improvements. They change jobs, cities, relationships, or routines, hoping the next thing will finally make them feel fulfilled. But external change without internal renewal is only temporary. The same patterns of frustration, doubt, and fear follow wherever the mind remains unchanged. Until the thoughts inside you evolve, the life outside you cannot rise to a new level. The mind is the root. Circumstances are the fruit. If you want to change the fruit, you must first change the root. Transformation begins when you take responsibility for your inner world. You stop blaming your surroundings and start examining your thinking. You ask yourself what beliefs are limiting you, what fears are holding you back, and what voices you have allowed to define your worth. The moment you become aware of your mental patterns, you gain the power to redirect them. The power to transform your life lies not in controlling others or fixing everything outside of you, but in mastering the conversation within your own mind. When you renew your thoughts, you automatically change your emotions, your actions, and eventually your results. The mind acts like a mirror reflecting the reality you believe in. If you think you are defeated, life will show you evidence of defeat. If you think you are capable and chosen for purpose, life will respond with opportunities that align with that belief. You cannot attract what you do not believe you deserve. This is why people who cultivate confidence and gratitude often experience growth and success, even in the same situations that crush others. Their internal state gives shape to their external experience. A renewed mind turns obstacles into lessons, setbacks into preparation, and pain into strength. Transformation also requires consistency. You cannot renew your mind once and expect lasting change. The process demands daily attention. Just as a gardener must water and protect a plant until it bears fruit, each day you must decide what thoughts you will entertain and what thoughts you will reject. Old patterns will try to return, whispering familiar doubts and fears, but a disciplined mind refuses to yield. Over time, new mental habits replace the old ones, and transformation becomes visible in your behavior, relationships, and sense of peace. When you begin to change from within, the world around you begins to respond differently. The same challenges that once overwhelmed you now appear smaller because your perspective has grown larger. The same situations that used to drain you now teach you resilience because your mind interprets them differently. Life itself begins to bend toward the strength of your renewed mindset. True and lasting transformation is never about fixing the world outside. It is about awakening the power that has always been waiting within you. Feeding your mind with purpose and truth is one of the most powerful actions you can take, because what you allow into your thoughts directly shapes the way you see yourself and the world around you. The mind is constantly absorbing ideas, beliefs, and messages from every direction, some positive, some negative. If you do not intentionally choose what enters, you risk allowing thoughts that weaken, confuse, or mislead you to take root. When you fill your mind with truth, wisdom, and purpose, you give yourself the foundation to think clearly, act decisively, and live courageously. The thoughts you nurture become the blueprint for your actions, your character, and ultimately your destiny. Many people wander through life without thinking about the mental diet they are consuming. They watch, read, and listen to whatever is convenient or entertaining, and their minds become cluttered with distractions, negativity, and fear. Yet the mind is not a passive organ. It is an active creator. Whatever dominates your attention eventually dominates your life. If you constantly expose yourself to doubt, criticism, and despair, your inner world will reflect that darkness. But when you deliberately feed your mind with uplifting, empowering, and purposeful thoughts, you create the conditions for growth, resilience, and success. Feeding your mind with truth means examining every belief you hold and asking whether it aligns with reality or purpose. It means rejecting lies, whether they come from others or from your own self-doubt, and replacing them with what is real, constructive, and empowering. It is the refusal to accept limitations that were never meant for you, the courage to affirm your potential, and the discipline to focus on what will produce life instead of destruction. Purpose-driven thoughts do not allow the mind to settle in mediocrity. They demand vision, clarity, and action. When the mind is guided by purpose, it naturally produces habits, choices, and behaviors that reflect that vision. Gratitude is one of the most powerful ways to feed your mind. By focusing on what is already working in your life, you cultivate a perspective that opens doors rather than closes them. By affirming your abilities, you strengthen confidence and resilience. By meditating on principles of truth and integrity, you train your mind to navigate challenges with wisdom instead of panic. Feeding your mind intentionally is not a one-time effort. It is a daily discipline. Every day, you decide what messages to absorb and which to reject, shaping the character, decisions, and life you will experience tomorrow. Ultimately, the mind becomes what it is fed. If you fill it with fear, bitterness, and lies, that is the life you will live. If you fill it with hope, truth, and purpose, the life you live will reflect strength, peace, and possibility. Guard your thoughts carefully and feed them intentionally, because what you allow in today will determine the harvest you reap tomorrow. Your destiny is shaped by the mental seeds you choose to nurture. And by filling your mind with purpose and truth, you set the stage for a life of power, clarity, and fulfillment. The mind was never designed to be your master. It was created to be your servant. Yet so many people live as if their thoughts control them, as if every fear, every doubt, and every distraction is a command they must obey. The truth is that the mind is a tool, and like any tool, its value depends on how it is used. When you take control of your mind, you gain the ability to direct your emotions, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. The person who allows their mind to dominate their life will always feel powerless, but the one who disciplines their thoughts becomes unstoppable. Mastery begins with understanding that you are the commander, and your mind is the instrument through which you execute your will. Every action you take flows from the thoughts you entertain. If your mind is chaotic, your life will reflect confusion. If your mind is disciplined, your life will reflect clarity and purpose. This is why mental mastery is so critical. It determines how you respond to challenges, how you interpret setbacks, and how you pursue opportunities. You cannot control every situation, but you can control your response, and that response begins in your mind. Thoughts are not just fleeting ideas. They are the architects of your life. When you bring them under control, you begin to shape your reality instead of merely reacting to it. The mind obeys the strongest influence it receives. If you feed it fear, worry, or self-doubt, those thoughts will dominate your decisions and actions. If you feed it courage, purpose, and vision, it will align with your highest potential. Mastery of the mind requires vigilance and discipline. You must guard against mental intruders, negative thoughts, limiting beliefs, and external influences that seek to dictate how you feel or act. By consciously choosing what you allow into your mind, you set the stage for the outcomes you desire. A mind under control is a mind that produces results instead of excuses. Taking control of the mind also means taking responsibility. You cannot blame circumstances, other people, or bad luck for the direction of your life when you understand that your thoughts are the foundation of your choices. Every habit, every pattern, every success or failure can be traced back to mental decisions. By becoming aware of your thought life and redirecting it toward purpose, you shift the trajectory of your life. You no longer drift with the tide of circumstance. You steer your own course with intention and wisdom. A disciplined mind brings freedom. When the mind is under control, you are no longer a prisoner of fear, doubt, or past mistakes. You can act boldly, speak confidently, and pursue your goals with determination because your inner world is aligned with your vision. Mental mastery does not make life without challenges, but it equips you to face challenges with strength, clarity, and resilience. When you control your mind, you unlock the power to shape your life, create your destiny, and live in alignment with the purpose for which you were created. Control your mind, and you become the architect of your own destiny. No circumstance can define you, no obstacle can deter you, and no fear can limit you because you have learned the greatest secret of life. The mind serves those who command it, not the other way around. Your mind was never meant to control you. It was meant to serve you. When you take charge of your thoughts, you take charge of your life. Control your mind, and you unlock the freedom, strength, and destiny you were always meant to live.